Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm going to be taking a look at Gravitas Ventures' latest trippy science fiction film. It's Infinitum, subject unknown. Infinitum focuses on a young woman who wakes up tied up and trapped in a mysterious house while strange things are occurring outside. Every time she begins to escape, a glitch occurs which sends her back to that seat again, tied up again in that mysterious house. The more that time seems to loop itself, the more she begins to have a greater insight to her surroundings, which seems to be the most elaborate rat maze ever constructed. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to Gravitas Ventures for providing me with a screener to check out this film a little bit early. This one definitely interested me before I saw it since, I'm a sucker for a good time loop film, especially if they can figure out a way to do it a little bit differently than how it's been done in the past. And I actually think that this movie does a decent job with that. Usually with time loop films, the person experiencing the loop is 100% aware of what's going on. You usually have to do it that way because when the day resets, if your memory also resets, then you're bound to repeat the day exactly the same without ever knowing it. But the way that this film operates is by kind of utilizing deja vu in a way. So yeah, that's how it begins. She is experiencing everything exactly the same way as before, but every time it loops, she'll have a flash or a vision of something that happened in the last loop, and then that's how she's able to go a little bit further each time because she keeps remembering things. And the more she remembers, the more she's able to unravel what it is that is actually happening to her and why. And I won't dive deeper into what it is that's going on, but at the end of the day, I did like the answer to that question, as it is massively ambitious, especially for such a small, independent type film. Beyond using deja vu as a catalyst to further the story, the film also uses constructs of a simulated reality or a glitch in the matrix, so to speak, to really mess with the audience and with the main character here. And it does a phenomenal job just being weird all around. I had to give the editor props because that's a pretty massive undertaking to put the film together and have it still make some sense at the end of the day. But what about negatives? Well, honestly, I predicted what my negatives of this film were going to be. And that was probably going to be, at least in part, false advertisement. I knew that when I saw Ian McKellen featured in the trailer, something told me he was just going to phone in this performance. It was going to be something like 5 minutes of screen time for him to collect a paycheck. And I was right. He's barely in the movie. And yet, he's in the posters, he's in the trailers, he's in everything. Because it's Ian McKellen. Honestly, the only person that's in this movie is the main girl, and that's it. They even make a point of that. What's going on in the world outside, you don't really see anybody at all. But her. It helps the ambience of the film to feel so isolated and strange, not to have any other people in the world, but to also include Ian McKellen in the trailers and the posters. It's clearly just a marketing ploy to get butts in seats and to sell tickets, and it makes sense. Would I have been interested in watching this movie without his appearance at all? Probably, if I knew it existed, since I am a fan of time loop films. But I probably would have not known it existed if it weren't for him. So I guess the marketing ploy worked? Another problem that I have with this film is that it's simply too ambitious for its own good. You can tell while watching that somewhere deep within the roots of the film is an extremely smart idea. The writer clearly knew what they wanted to convey. But I don't think that the execution matched the idea that the writer had. The execution felt a little bit too vague for such a big idea, as if they never intended to explain certain things. They end up explaining, the main overall idea, but they don't explain a lot of the little things, such as what's going on in the world outside and why this guinea pig project had to happen in the first place, or a deeper scientific explanation of what's going on or why this woman was chosen for this specific task. None of that. And for Ian McKellen and another guy in the film to basically play the role of Dr. Exposition 1 and 2, they didn't give us good enough exposition. So in other words, I feel like the film had promise, but it didn't always match the level of what you want to see in a film like this. Let's go ahead and break down my final score from an unbiased technical perspective. We'll just say this. The editing was pretty great. It had to tell a very out-of-order story, and I think it did so really well. But I'd be lying if I said you couldn't tell the movie was cheap. There was basically no cast, the cinematography was average at best, some of the audio that they had to use for dialogue felt a bit muffled and was hard to understand. So I'm going to give this technical score 62%. My bias score is a little bit higher because I did enjoy the overall concept of the film and the use of deja vu in terms of the time loop. I thought that was pretty unique. However, it was a little bit too ambitious for its own good. And had they had maybe a bigger budget, I feel like this film could have been something so much more. So this score is 64%. And when we average out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 63%. 63 out of 100 possible stars, or a C letter grade. Guys, have you seen Infinitum Subject Unknown? If not, are you looking forward to watching it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the number